Top stories on this edition of the WINN Weekender. The IMF defends the PEP program. Team Unity says the Prime Minister delays calling a general election in fear of being defeated. And the fire department continues to warn against setting fires. Welcome to another edition of the WINN Weekender, a comprehensive recap of some of the major stories making the news this past week. I'm your presenter, Andre Huey. Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas's former Deputy Prime Minister says Dr. Douglas has so far shied away from calling a general election because he's fearful of being defeated by the opposition alliance Team Unity. More from Shawn Richards.
Given the existing motion of no confidence stalemate in St. Kitts and Nevis, there are those who thought a general election would have been called by now. Prime Minister Douglas said recently that the constituency boundary changes matter that is before the court is in part responsible for the delay in his naming an election date. However, speaking at a public meeting on the Team Unity platform Friday night, Dr. Douglas's former deputy, Sam Condor, suggested that there are more telling reasons why the bill has not yet been rung.
Don't care what you're hearing saying. It cannot be much longer now. That's right. In fact, Douglas would have liked to have gone to the elections before. In fact, he had plans to go to the elections long time ago. You could see, but all the polls have said to him that he's gonna lose. And he believed his best chances are waiting for time, but time can't help him. The longer he stays, the worse it is for him. The longer he stays, the worse it is for him. And I could tell you, because that is all I'm hearing around this country and around the region. Around the country and around the region. So Douglas can't be a happy man.
Team Unity's Condor told opposition supporters at Friday's public meeting that the opposition would continue to exercise patience under trying circumstances.
He wants us to become agitated and to do foolish things, but we as patient as it come. It can't be long now. Anytime now, this country will be relieved of the suffering of Denzil Douglas and company. And I am happy, very, very happy. I am comfortable because I know what people are saying to me, and I'm sure they're saying the same thing to all of you. People are waiting.
The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, does not see the government-supported People's Empowerment Program, PEP, as a temporary measure, rather as a long-term investment to strengthen the labor force. In an IMF press conference Friday in Washington, D.C., Adrian Cheesty, Deputy Director, Western Hemisphere Department, responded to a question from WINN FM about the measures taken by the government to address the unemployment problem, which are viewed by critics as temporary and unsustainable.
I don't think the measures taken by the government were short-term and unsustainable. I believe he's talking about training programs, and these are permanent investments, even if they finish, because you've strengthened the labor force. Now, maybe he's talking about something beyond that, but if so, I can answer that bilaterally as well. In general, it's been impressive, the turnaround in St. Kitts, and the improvement in the finances and in growth is a strong supporter for reducing unemployment.
The IMF late last year had reported 10.2% growth in employment in the first half of 2013. The PEP, funded by the Sugar Industry Diversification Foundation, SIDF, is considered a major part of that growth and has been criticized by opposition politicians and pundits as an election ploy by Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas. The critics also do not see the program as sustainable and failing to address the real unemployment issues of the country. However, Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas assured that the PEP is not closing down and noted that efforts are being made to make it permanent. Meanwhile, during the IMF press conference on Friday, officials from the Western Hemisphere Department were quizzed by St. Vincent and the Grenadines journalist Jerry George about the lack of adequate focus on the Caribbean and the impact of the Petro-Caribe arrangement from Venezuela on Caribbean indebtedness.
Your presentation simply mentioned the Caribbean. I don't understand what that means. I don't understand what the state of play is in the Caribbean, because it really says nothing. Venezuela's supposed assistance to the region has greatly increased the national debt of the country. Even though it has, let's take Petrocaribe for example, even though it is seen as a loan that is extended, the truth is the increase on the national debt is significant, and the biggest problem in the region is that area of national debt and deficit budgets. How could I, when I leave here, say that I understand what is the true position of the Caribbean, particularly with respect to the financial institutions?
Okay, this is a vast discussion, so we can do it bilaterally. One thing I should point out, which is probably clear from the Rio, is there are two Caribbeans. There's the tourist-dependent Caribbean and the commodity-exporting Caribbean, and we do distinguish between those. However, I would say that the theme is the same in both of them this year. That growth, even though it's higher in the commodity exporters, it's still disappointing. So it's up, but it's disappointing in both. It's a unified message. In both Caribbeans, we're worried about debt. In both Caribbeans, they're exposed to Petrocaribe. However, the small tourist-dependent countries, in a funny way, are better off because they came late to Petrocaribe, so they're less vulnerable than some of the other countries to with any potential withdrawal by Venezuela of Petrocaribe financing.
Still to come, PAM leader denies links to recent stone-throwing incident in St. Paul's, and more warnings from fire and rescue services against setting fires.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
WINN FM's mission is to contribute meaningfully to the information, awareness, and the development of our nation and the region through the building of educated and informed communities. WINN FM faces the issues squarely, without shying away from controversy, while striving continuously to provide balanced, responsible reporting.
Better music, better talk, better radio. 98.9 WINN FM.
Welcome back. PAM leader Shawn Richards has denounced what he describes as attempts to link him to stone-throwing incidents during a recent victory motorcade of the Charles E. Mills Secondary School. More in this report.
The motorcade met with some problems while traveling through St. Paul's. The police have confirmed that they are investigating the disruption of the motorcade of the Charles E. Mills Secondary School's victory celebration after the school won the inter-school championship. The police, in their recent release on the matter, said the athletes and other school officials had already passed and were not involved in the incident. According to the police, the confrontation left several other people, including police officers, injured and a number of vehicles damaged. Speaking at Team Unity's public meeting last Friday, PAM's Richards said despite being part of the motorcade that came under attack, allegations have been made that he was behind the violence.
And so from Kayan right back until I got to Sandy Point, a police officer in the front of my vehicle with me, driving along with me. We reached St. Paul's, bottle and stone start to throw. I ain't even in front. All I know is the people running left, right and center. So like everybody else, me park up, bottle and stone a throw. I jump out my vehicle, I stand up observing what's going on. Battle and stone at you.
Richard says he was assisted by the police during the incident.
And I looking on. Eventually a sergeant came to me and he said to me, Shawn, we need to get you out of here. Let me get you out of here. We're going to give you police escort to get out of here. And so he said, we're going to take the back road. The vehicles which were in front of me, they went behind the police vehicle. I was there, he had the next vehicle behind me, and then the next police vehicle. By the time we reached by the playfield in St. Paul's, bottles and stone start to throw again. Because I guess that's how when the vehicles turn up on the back way, and so bottles and stone start to fling again. The vehicles that were ahead of me, they stopped. I took the opportunity to leave and went round by where they have the park in St. Paul's. I've heard all kind of stories since then that I caused confusion in St. Paul's. I don't know how come the police ain't come look for me. But I've said no police has to come and look for me. Because a police officer was in my vehicle all throughout. And so the police can ask one within their own ranks whether or not Shawn caused any confusion in St. Paul's.
The opposition leader says with a child and a police officer riding along in his vehicle, it would have been irresponsible on his part to engage in any violence. Richards also commended the police for the manner in which they handled the stone-throwing incidents.
The St. Kitts Fire and Rescue Services is pleading to the public to desist from setting fires, as it is increasing the risk to people and property. Fire Chief Everett O'Garo was on WINN FM's Talking Trash program Tuesday, where he noted that there have been increase of bushfires recently, most of which, he said, are deliberately set.
The fire services has become extremely concerned with an alarming rate of bushfires we've been having for the period. A lot of these fires we have learned have been deliberately set. We want to warn us and make an appeal to the general public to desist from the practice. It's a very dangerous practice. It's putting a huge strain on our resources. It's a constant annoyance to villagers who live in the area where these fires are set. It is even impacting our health systems, where we have a number of children in the areas who are asthmatic, who has to be rushed to the hospital on a frequent basis. And least but most important, it put people's property in grave danger. And so we are appealing to the general public to desist from the practice. It's a dangerous practice, and more importantly, it's a crime. If you are caught, we would put you in the hands of the law.
Mr. O'Garo is urging people to contact the fire services if they need to burn garbage, as a seemingly small fire can quickly spread and become a hazard. He particularly cautioned farmers and residents in the rural areas not to set fire to open land.
A lot of these fires are intentionally set. We have people out there who basically are doing farming, who want a clear piece of land. Instead of cutting the brush after the landfill, they think it's easier to burn the area, which would make it much easier for them. And also we've done some intelligence in the rural areas where we find the open wildland has been infected with this plant called courage. It's a plant that itches people's skin when the sun gets hot. The wind blows the particles from this plant into the homes of the residents in the area, and so at night they get itchy skin. And so people have taken it upon themselves to burn the area to get rid of the courage. You want to warn people that you may be getting rid of a minor problem but creating a major problem, because in lighting fires you're putting people's home. There are people in the area who have homes in the means of $500,000. I mean, there's no excuse to be getting rid of some courage and to destroy someone's homes that costs over $500,000. So we're saying it's a dangerous practice. Do not do it.
The fire chief also had words of caution for persons who burn charcoal in rural communities.
We also have problems with persons who are in the charcoal business, who set up these kilns. We've been advising them to make sure. We know it's a viable business. It's something that they do for a living. However, we are saying when you set these kilns up, make sure you build an appropriate fire break around this kiln. So, if fire escapes, it does not spread to the surrounding area. And those are the safety precautions.
There has been a decline in the appearance of the predatory lionfish in St. Kitts waters, according to Mark Williams, Director of the Marine Resources Department. A recent Associated Press report indicates that Jamaica is reporting a big decline in sightings of lionfish, the voracious invasive species that has been wreaking havoc on regional reefs for years. A campaign was launched in Jamaica some 4 years ago to slash the numbers of lionfish. The National Environment and Planning Agency in Jamaica is reporting a 66% drop in sightings of lionfish in coastal waters with depths of 75 feet or 23 meters.
We have a similar observation to Jamaica, that we see a stagnant level, almost a reduction. We have been encouraging our fishers and their customers to purchase the lionfish, consume the lionfish, because it is similar to our grouper, which is a high-end fish in our federation.
In terms of the health risks, are there any health risks? Can people eat lionfish without having to worry about the venom or the poison?
There are no health risks in relation to the consumption of lionfish.
They have some venomous spines that if you get stung by when you're cleaning it, it will swell your hand. But other than that, it is a safe eating fish.
Mr. Williams noted, however, that even though there is a drop in the sightings of lionfish in St. Kitts waters, fishermen are not enthusiastic about hunting them and selling them for consumption. This is because locally, not many people have been showing an interest in eating lionfish.
They haven't responded well, I should say, because it's mainly a bycatch for the trap fishery as well as the spear fishers. They haven't been targeting it because our citizens have not been demanding it as much as they should.
What do you think is contributing to it then? Because in Jamaica, they're attributing the fact that people are eating more of the lionfish, and the fishermen are actually catching them more and more in their collection. What would you say is the reason for the reduction here in St. Kitts?
Well, lionfish are territorial. As they get older, they will mark their own space. So as a result, our marine space is fairly small. So when it reaches a population level that covers the most of the lionfish areas in the marine space, then they will move on to other destinations.
Mr. Williams noted, however, that there has been a slight increase in consumption, but not at the level necessary to reduce the population significantly. He surmised that catching lionfish is the only way to control the population.
We can continue to take the lionfish out, fish the lionfish out of our waters. That's the only way we can stop the lionfish from expanding its population in our area. It has been suggested that we should have lionfish fishing competitions. However, these are just temporary fixes, because if our neighbors, St. Eustatius, St. Bart's, Antigua, Barbuda, even Puerto Rico, do not have the lionfish competition going on at the same time, it will be somewhat difficult to keep the population low over a sustainable period.
We ended the WINN Weekender on a lighter note this week. Zach Nisbet and the children affiliated with his cultural heritage music program were in the studios of WINN FM for Voices this past week to perform some musical renditions. To end the WINN Weekender, a look at some of our major headlines. PAM leader denies links to recent stone-throwing incidents in St. Paul's, and the IMF defends the PEP program. This has been the WINN Weekender. On behalf of the WINN TV News team, I'm Andre Huey.